Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Best greetings from laboratory with small parasitic wasps. Today we will be watching parasitic wasps and PHYTOPHAGOUS wasps. And we'll be talking about parasitoids, about PHYTOPHAGOUS wasps and their difference. I'm trying to make manipulation about light to show you better these creatures. I'm not quite sure what's the better will be. I am inviting you to join my live stream about these creatures, these tiny Chalcid wasps. Tiny Chalcid wasps, they're just crawling here around us. They're flying everywhere and they're invisible because they're very small. My channel is Dr. Viktor Fursov, entomologist, beekeeper teacher, and I'm inviting you to watch this video story about parasitoids, about parasitic wasps, about PHYTOPHAGOUS wasps. Who are these tiny creatures here on the screen? You can recognize many tubes and many creatures. They look like tiny ants. Right, we are very close to them because they belong to the order Hymenoptera. They are relatives to ants. Now a lot of people enjoy keeping ants in formicariums, but these are Chalcid wasps. So that's why I'm telling about Chalcidarium, special cage, special place where I'm breeding Chalcid wasps of the superfamily Chalcidoidea. Many of them here were coming to the light. And where did they come from? They came from host plant. And Chalcid wasps, they are different because they can be parasitic, they can be PHYTOPHAGOUS. So they are different in their biology, in their development, in their natural environment. So they are different in their morphology, definitely, because Chalcid wasps is a huge superfamily including 19 different families. Even some interesting PHYTOPHAGOUS wasps like fig wasps are very funny, very interesting. They are living inside fig fruits. And these insects, closer relatives, they also living in fruits. I am not telling yet which fruits they are living. I'm just showing you just to invite more people to our stream so you can recognize how funny they are. And this creature, they have a size about 6 millimeters body length and about 4 millimeters the tiny ovipositor, because they have tiny stick on the top of the body which is named ovipositor. So this is the same organ for reproduction as another representatives of insects we have. And they are relatives to ants, really, because they are belonging to order Hymenoptera. Hymenoptera, we have relatives ants, bees, bumblebees, social bees, and solitary bees, wasps, solitary wasps, and social wasps, and sawflies, and ants for sure. And the PHYTOPHAGOUS and parasitic Hymenoptera as well, parasitoids and PHYTOPHAGOUS wasps. So these are tiny PHYTOPHAGOUS wasps. We can make bigger magnification for sure. I'm just trying to make manipulation with light. Right. We have on the top yellow small individual, probably male. I guess this is male, just that one. And females with long stick, with long ovipositor. Why they need this long ovipositor? Because they lay eggs inside substrate, somewhere beneath the substrate, beneath the surface, deeply inside the substrate. And substrate, this is a fruit, because these insects were named seed-feeding insects of a family Megastigmidae, very interesting name. They're seed-feeding insects, Megastigmidae, and they're developing in such very common seeds, very common plant as rosy hip plant, right, everywhere, just in a garden, in an orchard, in a bush, in forest, you can find rosy hip. Very common, but you don't believe that inside seeds and inside fruits of rosy hip, these tiny insects are developing and they're invisible. So it's quite funny to find some insects like tiny fleas, which are living in a hidden environment. Nobody knows about them, but they are living somewhere, flying somewhere like plankton, and they're invisible. So these insects were really invisible because most of their life, nearly 1 year, were developing inside seeds. Some were hidden inside seeds and were invisible. You cannot find them because they are sitting inside seeds of rosy hip. You know rosy hip very well. You can collect fruits of rosy hip for food, for tea, for herbal tea, which is very common. But inside seeds, these tiny funny creatures are feeding. Yes. Dashinya. Hello, Dashinya. Best greetings. Маленькі букашки, маленькі. Маленькі букашки бігають і стрибають. Букашки-комашки. Маленькі комахи українською мовою. But we are talking today in English because our audience better speak in English. Our audience is international, and so if you want to communicate with people, you need to know English. It's essential for communication in English with English people, with American, with European, with Asian people, anyway, just in all continents, in Europe and Asia, Australia and Africa, in America, people speak English, so you can watch video, you can watch movies, you can understand, especially if you are a biologist. For biologists, for photographer, for videographer, it's important to speak English. And entomology science about insects, definitely all publications now, responsible publications and important publications are published in English. Try to make focus, but very difficult because we're crowding very fast. We're seed feeders. As I said, who are parasitoids? Parasitoids, these are insects which are parasitizing inside another insects. And parasitoids, this is special terminology for insects from different orders, not only from Hymenoptera, which are feeding on host creature, and host creature, like another insect, is dying because of development of larvae, usually of parasitoid. That's why parasitic relations are very difficult, very special, and very interesting for discovery. For many tiny CHALCID wasps, host relations are known. Why? Because many species are still unknown in Hymenoptera, and especially in Hymenoptera parasitica. And trophical relations between host plant, host insect, and parasitoid or PHYTOPHAGOUS insect are really unknown. That's why to find host of parasitoid is very important and interesting for the science as a scientific discovery and finding details of biology, ecology, distribution of Hymenoptera parasitica and Hymenoptera PHYTOPHAGOUS insects are very important for understanding their life cycle, for understanding their ecology, for understanding their distribution. Because small CHALCID wasps, they have very wide distribution all around the world. If you are in Europe, in Asia, in America, in Australia, you can find interesting small CHALCID wasps. Of course, you can collect big butterfly, you can collect large moths for collection, just for fun. You can collect some ants for formicariums. But if you are collecting CHALCID wasps, you can make personal discovery, not only personal. If you publish it in scientific journal, your discovery will be openly published, and many other entomologists can know about your discovery. So your name will be written in scientific publication as inventor, as discoverer, and so you can find your name in internet, in scientific publications, on web pages of another organization of universities, entomological societies. So and other people will cite, will mention you in their publications, because you can make discovery the first. Who is making the first discovery? This is most inventive, most hardworking scientist. That's why we are making collecting, we are making observations, we are making morphological study of insects, and especially not only big size insects, but especially most interesting tiny small parasitic wasps and tiny small PHYTOPHAGOUS insects, like this one. If you want to make discovery in your region, you can also take some seeds of plants and you can find some interesting PHYTOPHAGOUS insects which are developing inside seeds. These are seeds of different plants. Anyway, just if you can find some seeds, you can keep them in jars, in boxes, in plastic cages, in plastic packets. Add some filter paper to avoid moisture and humidity. And you can make observations for emergence of some parasitic and PHYTOPHAGOUS insects. If you keep some seeds inside packages, inside plastic cages, after a certain period of time, some insects can hatch, can emerge from seeds, like these tiny insects. They emerged from rosy hip fruits, because they are seed eaters, they are seed feeding insects. And if you can do the same in your area, you can make discovery, you can make your personal inventory, how to find them, where to find them, and you can make discovery of your personal observations, which actually can be published in scientific journal. If you want to make discovery, you can write your questions on my email and we can discuss how to make discovery in your area, how to make discovery with which plants, where you can find them, how you can collect them and how you can keep them. If you can collect some strange insects from seeds, you can send them to our institute for identification. It can be interesting to describe them, to identify and describe them. Maybe you can notice some interesting details of biology. So you see how many of them. I guess more than 50 individuals here. They're crowding everywhere around in small tubes. And today we are talking about parasitoids and phytophagous insects. So these are not parasitoids, these are phytophagous insects. They were living inside seeds, which are developing inside fruits of rosy hip, very common plant all around the world, Asia, Australia, Africa and America. And you can collect it in your area if you are living somewhere in Thailand, if you're living somewhere in Australia, if you're living somewhere in Canada or in America. You can find interesting phytophagous wasps inside seeds of plants. And after identification, this material can be used for scientific publications. You can say how did I use plants? I show you. I can show you not only insects, but I can show you plants. How plants looks like. Because now we are finishing this video. So these are tiny insects. They're crawling here. Where did they live? How they are living and developing? They have been living inside fruits of rosy hip, as I said. And rosy hip I keep in a jar. I keep it in this cage. Yes, these are rosy hip fruits. Very common rosy hip fruits. Some of them will have exit holes. I keep them here in plastic jar in this special plastic cage, and I close it with lid. So all insects will be inside. Do not escape. If I need, I can open lid carefully. Can check here fruits which are dry. They were growing last season. Then later they dried. And in this season, in this spring, in this beginning of summer, small tiny phytophagous insects are hatching from these very funny fruits of rosy hips. If you can collect in other fruits, from other insects, dry them. Definitely, if we have seeds, there are many different interesting and maybe undescribed and unknown species can be developing inside, which need identification, which need description and discovery. You see here, this is a fruit with exit hole, small tiny point. This is exit hole from which